to item 10A1. 10A1 is Resolution AR 2026-16, a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing the 50th anniversary of community councils and the Federation of Community Councils. This item was pulled by you, Mr. Johnson.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Johnson, seconded by Ms. Baldwin-Day. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'd like to ask unanimous consent. Is there any objection to the adoption of the motion? Seeing and hearing no objection, the item is approved. Who is reading?
I'm reading, Chair.
Ms. Baldwin-Day, you have the floor. If there's
Thank
someone
you.
here from the council, please come forward.
This is a resolution of the Anchorage Municipal Assembly recognizing the 50th anniversary of community councils and the Federation of Community Councils. Whereas since the early 1970s, groups of residents identified the need to bring government decision-making to the neighborhood level, recognizing that public spirit and grassroots involvement are essential to a vital community. And whereas Anchorage voters affirmed the importance of community governance by enshrining it in Article 2 and Article 8 of the Home Rule Charter in 1975, and by recognizing the first 7 community councils. And whereas since that time, many distinct community councils have been formed and recognized by the Anchorage Assembly to afford residents maximum community involvement and self-determination. And whereas in 1976, the Federation of Community Councils was formed as a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization primarily funded by the municipality of Anchorage to support community council volunteers and create a space for collaboration, training, and community outreach. And whereas over the last 50 years, community councils have significantly impacted and initiated policies and projects at the municipal, state, and federal levels to support neighborhoods in areas such as safety and crime prevention, park improvement, utility designation, road improvement, and community building. And whereas throughout the last 50 years, community councils have brought together thousands of Anchorage residents, spurring many to serve in other capacities across various levels of government, positively impacting the community beyond their specific councils. And whereas Anchorage is a more vibrant and livable community because of the involvement of community council members working together to achieve shared goals. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Anchorage Assembly extends congratulations on the 50th anniversary, recognizes the contributions and impacts of community councils, and offers best wishes for their continued success. Passed and approved by the Anchorage Assembly this 27th day of January, 2026.
Welcome. Please state your name. You have the floor.
One more? Red. Oh, we're red. Okay. Hey, my name is Jade Powell. I'm the president of North Star Community Council, and
my name is Ariana Belizzi, and I'm the Federation of Community Council's executive director. Also, Jade is one of our board members.
yeah, and I asked Ariana to say a few words tonight, and she said, well, why don't you just speak on behalf of the FCC, which I don't feel like I'm qualified to do, but maybe that is in spirit of Anchorage, because for better or for worse, we've been making things up as we go along and building this wonderful, flawed, complex, diverse, and beautiful municipality as we go, and making tweaks along the way. So I thank you for all your work as part of that. I'll try not to ramble too long. I know we have a packed agenda tonight, but I really wanted to get a few things across in this speech. First of all, community councils have a rich history in our city and were founded with noble principles at heart, and a lot of effort has been put in, especially in the first 10 years or so, to nudge them along in their infancy, and I believe they have a bright future in shaping this city. The community councils are a rare, valuable, multi-generational space and a place where we can learn from each other and collaborate with our neighbors outside of our usual social circles. The Federation of Community Councils is a valuable asset to the community councils in Anchorage, and the additional funding that the Assembly has put towards its operation recently is money very well spent. And community councils, most importantly, by definition, rely on volunteer participation of everyday people. And I hope I can inspire at least a few people, who, young and old, who might be listening, to bring their ideas, hopes, and passions to the local community council. So why am I here? Why am I speaking to this? I'll get to this later, but I don't think anyone who wasn't alive when the community councils were founded knows as much now about community councils as Ariana does. So I really have her to thank, because she was really helpful as I was preparing some of these remarks tonight. I have been attending my community council, North Star Community Council, regularly for about 3 years, and as often the case, started to get more involved after I bought my home and settled in and committed to the neighborhood and was looking for ways to get more involved. I've been on the board as the treasurer and then the VP and now the president for the last 2.5 years or so. And my first opportunity to really dig deep into work with my community council beyond just going to the meetings every month was when I volunteered to serve on the Midtown District Plan Steering Committee way back in 2024. That work still continues in the background. I'm thankful for the planning department staff for all the work they're doing on that. And I had the privilege to work closely with folks like Chris Stoner, who's here tonight, and Sean Debenham from Midtown Community Council, and Sarah Prescott from Smenard Community Council, and others on that steering committee, and was able to build really great relationships with those folks through that effort. Then I started to meet with other council leaders, including Chris, as a part of the District 1 Community Council Leadership Group that Sylvia Mendes from the Downtown Community Council organized. And I'm not sure if you're here, Sylvia, or if you're listening, but if you are, thank you. And as the conversations of housing have come to the forefront here in Anchorage over the last several months, I've had the privilege to facilitate meetings and special meetings on housing and with my community council and work with my fellow leaders in District 1 as I ride the wave of engagement in our usually sleepy community council. And I've had folks, and I have to thank folks like Alan Rosenthal for their engagement on the issues and effort to get folks turned out to our community councils. Through all this work over the last couple years, I've seen the way in which community councils can activate and engage community members and give them an opportunity to work together and learn from each other in a way that feels irreplaceable, which is why I wanted to be able to speak with you all tonight. And as I mentioned, community councils have a long history of putting in work to better their community. And a tidbit that I love is Spenard and Fairview community councils, they have rec centers, and that's pretty uncommon in the municipality. And those are really awesome resources, and the community councils were hugely involved in getting those resources into their communities and establishing those. And at the time, back in those days, the Spenard Community Council actually got in trouble with this body, the Anchorage Assembly, because they were so good at directing state funds into their community council. The Assembly got a little offended that they were getting pushed aside by the community council. And with Fairview Community Council, Ariana has documents going back well into the 60s, before the founding of the municipality, on the long history of the hard work on behalf of Fairview that folks now, like Alan Kemplin, are doing today. And that continues today with monumental things like the Reconnecting Fairview Corridor Plan and quieter but no less important efforts of Government Hill and Northeast to improve their public spaces, and countless other things that community councils are doing and have done to improve their neighborhoods. Community councils over the last decade or so alone have helped move around $1 million in state funding to their neighborhoods in direct legislative line item appropriations. I think another really tangible example of the way that community councils can make a huge difference in their communities. And they were founded, like I said, with really intentional and thoughtful principles at heart. First, I wanted to read briefly the full text, I promise it's short, of Articles 2 and 8 from the Charter. Article 2, the right to establish local community councils to assure a maximum community self-determination, exercised in conjunction with others and without infringement upon the rights of other persons. And I think those last two bits there, the collaboration and also not infringing on the rights of others, feel really important to me and things that really jumped out. And Article 8 from the Charter, the Assembly by ordinance shall provide for establishment of community councils to afford citizens an opportunity for maximum community involvement and self-determination. This ordinance shall include procedures for negotiation between the local government and each community council with respect to the duties and responsibilities of the council. As you'll notice, this isn't much in the Charter. I was delighted today to dig into a variety of documents that Ari and her staff, Allie, from the FCC scanned this year into from the UA records, and read a variety of other documents the city developed over the next 10 years or so after the community councils were officially founded, that helped guide them from assembly memorandums to city code documents to documents created by the FCC itself. A lot of work was put in to shape them, and I think these documents can be really good inspiration for us as we think about how we can grow community councils and help them better represent their communities and better engage community members as we go into the future. And on the note of that code, Chapter 240.02 implements the Charter and has a footnote. It speaks a little bit about what the community councils do and functionally how they might work. And I had a footnote that really jumped out at me. While the code and charter reference citizens, you do not have to be a U.S. citizen to be a member of a community council or to serve as a council officer or board member. And I stand before you wearing this goofy little Anchorage pin, which I love now, flag pin, because I love this city, and I love it in large part because Anchorage is a city of immigrants. It always has been, and it always will be, and I think that is important for us to remember, and I really thank Assemblymember Baldwin Day for her remarks earlier about what is going on in the world. And the last thing I wanted to really emphasize, and I haven't written this out as much, so it might get rambly, but I'll try to keep it short, is the multi-generational aspect of community councils. Many of the folks that younger folks like me might be frustrated with at times or see as the old guard of community councils, a lot of those folks have been involved since they were our age and have just continued to be involved over the years as the community councils have grown and changed, and the city has grown old with them. And that is an incredible wealth of knowledge, and something that, a brief story that I really want to tell is, in our most recent community council meeting, we were speaking about the Valley of the Moon Park and how it was recently transferred in our community council. And Esther Perman was there in the community council meeting, and she is a few years older than me, and Harriet Drummond pointed out that Esther, when she was like 10 years old, played a huge part in revitalizing that park. And the older member of the community pointing out how a now relatively young, but not that young community member, when she was even younger, like that multi-generational aspect and that history and that knowledge and the history of community engagement, I think really shows an example of why the community councils is such a special thing, and why I really would encourage folks to get involved with them. One last thing I wanted to highlight, Ariana has done some rough math that every year there's about $1 million in volunteer time that community council members put into the city governance that often would be paid for out of the city budget. And I really encourage folks to continue to be engaged with the community councils, continue to show up and bring your ideas and bring your energy. And thank you for listening to my very long speech.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask for your indulgence to change order of the day to take up item. Ms. Brawley, please.
I will keep it very short. I just wanted to say thank you. I see a number of community council members and especially officers out in the audience. And I know we need to move on to other things, but I believe many of us up here, I don't know about all of us, but at least many of us have been community council officers well before we were in these seats. And so thank you, I guess, to my colleagues for serving and then deciding to take on even more responsibility, but also thank you out in the audience for those who do the hard work of making sure the meetings happen, because the meetings cannot happen unless there are people to set them up, to run the agenda, and to actually follow up. So thank you to you all.
All right.